I just wanted to start this video off by saying that I love ReZero. So I just finished watching episode 8 of ReZero season 2, and let me say that this episode hit differently. I was going to hold off any ReZero content until part 1 finished, so I could have done a full-blown review on my thoughts on this season, but with how this episode left me feeling emotionally, I couldn't hold myself back. This morning's episode was filled with so many things that would cause anybody emotional trauma if you're in Subaru's shoes, but for Subaru to break down like how he did in the end made me overflow with emotion, and let me just say that this one episode put me through an emotional roller coaster. So much happened in this episode. Rem and Otto helped Subaru escape from yet another horrible situation he was put into. Subaru met up with Roswell once again and got some answers about Beatrice, and we saw what Ram, Otto, and the villagers of Arlem was ready to do to keep a friend safe. And yet again, Subaru had to watch everything crumble apart in front of him. Every single person willing to help Subaru was either injured or murdered right in front of him, and he couldn't do anything to stop it. He seemed mentally exhausted after everything, and he had just been through, and after that, after all the emotional pain he was feeling, he died in one of the most brutal deaths we've seen so far. I myself felt tired. Tired because it didn't seem like Subaru could handle anything else, and he couldn't. Banging his head on the floor after he was revived, because of how mentally troubled he felt, and he was losing all sense of hope. When this episode was nearing the end, I could only think of how could this get any worse for Subaru, and how much more will he have to endure before he can get out of this current loop he's in. For Echidna to stretch out her hand and help Subaru in a time of need, when he was feeling at his all-time low, it felt really great. And for Subaru to be able to share about return by death to somebody else, and to be able to talk about all he was going through since he'd arrived in Lagunica, and knowing that all of the mental baggage could have been lifted in some sort of way, it made me tear up. No matter the motive or how little time he had to speak with her, knowing that he could finally talk to somebody, and that he found someone to be able to speak with, we can finally see that from today's episode that not being able to talk about return by death is one of the things that we can see is most mentally traumatizing for Subaru. Subaru has to go through so many things, but not being able to share anything that he goes through must leave a mental burden on him. This episode made me appreciate the story and the soundtrack even more than I did previously. And I'm glad to be able to experience it along with the beautiful soundtrack that was being played. The music arrangement only helped to further invoke more emotion pertaining to what was happening and help move the episode further along. The fact that the animation team is working on all this from home astounds me, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen for next week's episode. I almost never do this. I think I'm about to rewatch this episode again. ReZero is definitely one of my favorite anime. With this second season so far, I hope that you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. And if you're not watching ReZero, I do encourage you to watch it because this is a great series. I never thought I would be as invested as I was in this anime, but I'm glad I am. Thanks for listening to me ramble on for this quick video and listening to how this episode made me feel, and I hope that we all can continue to watch ReZero. See ya!